This is a fairly comprehensive walkthrough of some initial ideas around building the Scott Batter strategy map. Now, we probably, just looking at this slide, need to think of what we're going to be calling this, because I don't think Sustainability Scorecard quite covers the breadth and scope of what we're now doing as we get into mission-driven organizations and so forth. Different topic. Anyways, so the strategy map is the foundation for the work that we're doing. As you recall from Croatia, the strategy map begins to underpin our analysis of what processes and projects impact on strategy, and ultimately allows us to assess the effectiveness of those processes and their ability to help us execute strategy. It also underpins our analysis of projects and initiatives and their ability to close any observed performance gaps. In addition, of course, the strategy map becomes the container in which we see overall performance and enables the drill down into specific topics like CRM, customer profitability, and so forth. So it's important that we get the strategy map right. Now, I'm going to begin sharing with you some ideas about how to create the strategy map so that we can resolve some big questions in advance and decide how much work we need to get done before we arrive. The criteria, the challenge I've set for myself is that I want us to build a strategy map that will not need to be changed every year. So we've got a bunch of strategy documents about 2036. We've got some about 2018. I don't want to focus just on 2018 and then redo it in 2019 and then again in 2020, etc. So what that means is I'd like to include as much of the 2036 ideas as it makes sense. Now, some of them may be beyond what we can even worry about at this point in time, but that's the goal. Likewise, I do want to make sure that we link it to the specific activities we need to do in 2018 to hit our short-term objectives and continue being successful. Finally, I do want to continue using words that people have already seen from the various strategy documents that have been put together. So we've got lots of sources to go from in this case. So we have a timeline that I just talked about that extends from 2018 today on the right to sometime in the future. And so if we take a look at things like the purpose and vision statement, obviously the 26 vision statement is something that's supposed to help us out in seeing where we want to be by 2036. And the purpose, we'll just tuck that on top of the rest of the work. Now, to provide some detail about this, there's a second document that is some of the more detailed descriptions behind a number of specific visions, such as environment having a net positive impact. So these are also part of 2036. So right there in the timeline. We also have a document that takes a look at the 2036 strategic goals. 7 strategic goals, and again, those are focused out here on 2036. Now, we've taken these, I assume you've taken these and backcasted them to where we now need to be in 2018. And so the key backcasting document I have access to is the 2018 strategic priorities. And of course, there's a bunch of stuff that's detailed here. And in fact, if we take a look at that, and I'm going to plunk that over here in the 2018 category, there's quite a lot of detail that we can harvest. Now, it's important to note with this backcasting or forwardcasting is these objectives here are intended to take us in this direction. Therefore, we should be able to take some of this at least and put that on the strategy map and then explain how we're doing these activities to get us there. So that puts some of the sources into context. Now, to remind you about the sustainability strategy map, we've talked about the triple bottom line: society, organization, and the environment. And we've taken the organization and used the principles of the balanced scorecard to break that into the perspectives of financial, customer, internal, and people. So using this framework, I'm going to go to some of those sources and see what it tells us. So for example, if we go to that purpose and 2036 vision statement, we're going to take that purpose statement and just put it up here at the top of the overall strategy map. Just to be mindful of what our overall goal is. Now, there's a couple of core things I want to grab out of the vision statement. One is this really neat idea about addressing the challenges of our changing society. So we're going to plunk that as something that we want to deliver to our customer external stakeholder world. Technology that addresses society's challenges. The second thing that I thought was neat was chemistry as a force for good, which encapsulates a whole bunch of other concepts that are talked about in the various documents. Again, that's something that we want our customers to be able to say about us. We want our customers to be able to say we use chemistry as a force for good, and we want them to be able to say Scott Batter uses technology to address society's evolving challenges. So I'm going to start off with the vision statement because that's farthest out in time, and I think that trumps some of the other more recent stuff. So we're going to put a bunch of objectives out there with this green circle outline on them from here. So for example, it talks about the environment, a net positive impact. Well, obviously, that's going to go over here in the environment perspective. Then it talks about society, seeking harmony and inclusivity. So again, that's going to go up here in society. Then it says financial, sound and purposeful. So again, we're going to plunk that up in financial. So what I'm doing is I'm just taking the objectives that your team has already agreed to and the wording and put them on the strategy map to keep that connection with what you've already voted and agreed to. Now, on the second page of the more detailed description of 2036, it talks about partners with aligned value generators. And if I read the wording, this is both about customers and internal suppliers. So I'm going to put that one right on the line between the two. It talks about our processes being world-class and adaptable. Obviously, that's an internal objective, so we'll put that in internal. And then people unleashing their full potential and goodwill. So we'll put this down on the people perspective. So again, pretty clear where those came from. Now, the next document I looked at was the 2036 strategic goals. And so I'll put them on the strategy map template, but using a dark blue outline. So striving for excellence, well, that is an internal activity. So I'm going to put that down in the internal perspective. Pioneering the circular economy. Now, that's kind of a challenge because the circular economy can go either in society or environment. So I'll just plunk it in society for now. Acting beyond compliance. Well, that's an internal activity. So I'll put that down in internal. Delivering value to society. Well, that's going to go over here in society. Unleashing our colleagues' potential. That's obviously a people objective. Now, partnering for success, again, we've talked about that already, but I'm going to put that over here as an internal because there's a lot of internal activities we need to do. Protecting our environment is obviously an environmental objective. So now we've harvested those 7 objectives. Now, if we go to the next document, which is our 2018 strategic priorities, I'm going to put those objectives on with a light blue outline. So, zero waste. Zero waste is talking all about, 5S and, the 8 types of waste and so on. That's internal. So we'll put this over here on internal and, of course, the environment. Quality, obviously, is also internal. Building process improvements is obviously internal. It's our process objective. Now we have a series of projects. The M3 upgrade is one of the things we're doing to improve our processes. The product customer profitability tool, the production footprint, and the performance management system are all part of this business process improvement. Now there's another initiative called innovation, but innovation comes up in a number of different areas. I'm going to use it here as an excuse to come up with a unique objective called innovation. And again, that's an internal activity. Budget process fits into being financially sound and purposeful. Strategic intent. If we read the words here, it's all about focusing on growth. So I'm going to put that up on the top as a financial objective. And then zero harm, because it talks a lot about safety, I'll put it over here on society. The second page talks about regulatory awareness, which obviously is act beyond compliance. Sourcing strategy, again, that's strive for excellence or business improvements. Unleashing talent has some objectives that fit into unleashing colleagues' potential. Protecting our environment has to do with the objective of protect our environment. Pioneering the circular economy goes to circular economy. Partnering for success, obviously is under partner for success. Delivering value to society. And financial performance actually has a couple of things I want to highlight. Most importantly is about a cost focus as well. So I'm going to add cost on the top on the financial perspective. It also talks about the Commonwealth strategy will be finalized. And I think that's important. So I'm going to put that down as a people objective. And then finally, it talks about providing world-class service. And that's, one of the things we want customers to be able to say about us. So this takes a look at the objectives from the existing documents. Now, you can see it's a bit of an eye chart. And in some cases, we've repeated the same concept. So, for example, strive for excellence, business process improvements, process world-class adaptable, and possibly even zero waste are all the same idea. And so we need to choose one of these to use going forward. And it doesn't matter which one, but we need to try to provide the clarity I described in the second slide. So for the sake of argument, I'm going to use strive for excellence. Then we also see that partners from the 2036 vision statement and partnering for success from the 2036 strategic goals are kind of similar. So we'll use partners, aligned value generators. We see that unleashing our colleagues' potential and unleashing their full potential are similar. And so we'll use unleash our colleagues' potential. So this is a somewhat simplified version of those objectives. And there's others that you may see that we can get rid of. But based on what I know about the business, that's as far as I can go. So then I tried building this into a strategy map. So I've shuffled them around just a little bit and would come up with the following hypothesis. To be financially sound and purposeful, we need to both manage costs and continue to grow. Underpinning that is all of these things. And for example, for us to provide world-class service can only come by our ability to strive and succeed for excellence. Chemistry as a force is good. Strive for excellence needs to get done for that. And so it needs to also get done for technology to address society's challenges. So strive for excellence becomes this sort of epicenter. How do I get there? Well, we need to support the innovation, and that'll help us be excellent. We need to deliver the quality, and we need to act beyond compliance. And all those things will help us achieve that striving for excellence. How do we get there? Well, we got to work with partners, and partners are both supply partners and customer partners to figure out what it is that we need to innovate, figure out what is the quality that we need to deliver, and figure out how can we act beyond compliance. So that's the core engine of the organization. Now, we can go to some of the other objectives. So, for example, if we take a look at how to achieve zero waste, if we think of that as being environmental waste, and again, this might be part of this objective, that's an internal activity. And how to protect the environment is definitely an internal activity. To create zero harm in society, both how the product gets used in the field and how our customers use it, and our internal processes both need to work towards zero harm. And then over here for the circular economy, that is, how do we keep things in circulation? So that's both customers and internal working towards that objective. So this is what I'm proposing as a draft strategy map. Now, this is about as far as I can take it. I now need your input into which of these objectives I've gotten rid of that I should put back in, which ones I've left in that I can get rid of, what other things do we need to add in. Once we get this right, then I'm going to take the next step of beginning to map out what the ontology might look like and how the various initiatives and so on are going to map into these. So I'd like some feedback on this strategy map, and I'll send along a PowerPoint version of this map so that you can more easily grab and move things around. Thanks.